There were no votes taken in executive session. We'll move to the next item on the agenda. Ms. Corsi is checking if there are public comments on items 6 through 11. We have one person who signed up for public comments, Tara Cooper.
Good evening. My name is Tara Cooper. I am a parent of 3 children in the district. I have 2 daughters at Birchwood Middle School, 6th and 8th grade, and I also have a son at Stephen Olney, 3rd grader. Thank you, Ms. Napolitano. I'm here for 2 reasons, actually. Obviously, I'm a parent, and I am raising kids in this wonderful community. The second piece is during the day, my other job, I work at the health department, and I work in a program called, that oversees a survey called the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. This survey is done every other year, and I felt it important to come out and just make a few comments. So I'll keep it brief, because I know you have a lot to talk about. The survey is done every other year in middle schools and high schools. It's a survey that is done to understand what risk behaviors our youth are engaging in. And I want to just make a few points, and those are the data we collect are anonymous among these students. We never release data at the local level because I don't even receive data at the local level. And then lastly, the questions on these surveys are delicate. They're health questions. We all have health questions. But these questions sort of help us at the state level understand what our youth are doing, whether they're smoking marijuana, whether they're no longer smoking cigarettes, whether they're depressed, whether they have asthma, whether they're obese. These are a lot of issues that are important to our community during work with the HES and in other areas. So again, no local data are ever collected. So we can't tie risk behavior taking in the high school's Spanish second period class. I don't know that. You won't know that. My job is to make sure the students in this school and across the state feel safe to answer important health questions, that they have their privacy protected, and that we get valuable data to do important work. Thank you. Also, if there's any other questions in the future about this survey, I'd be happy to answer any of them. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Next item on the agenda.
Next item is to give a little overview of the school facilities update. I am pleased to report that the teachers of McGuire had their first faculty meeting out at Califf Elementary in Johnston today. They received their room assignments and got to view their space. Now they're going to go back to McGuire and see what they really need to purge out of their classroom so that they can move their materials over. They had a discussion around how to pack things and what the movers could do as far as packing things for the teachers. So I think it was really well received, and I must note that Mr. Maha had a very organized faculty meeting, and he had everything well planned for the teachers to go into the building. And it was a very positive experience. announcements this afternoon. Through kindergarten registration and any new registrations, I am working with the GIS coordinator with the town and the bus company to subtly do some redistricting and move lines as those children, new children, move into the district so that they won't have to be moved again once the new schools come online. So if we do that this year and next year with those new registrations, I believe that that will resolve some of the students being disturbed. And then the last thing is that this evening, Mr. McNamee will bring before you the second lease for your approval. That's the update on our school facilities at this time.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the financial report as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by Mr. Inetta. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the field trip requests as submitted.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Inetta, seconded by Mr. Cataldi. All those in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve St. Patrick's lease agreement as submitted.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Cataldi, seconded by Mr. Inetta. Sorry. Motion by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by Mr. Inetta. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes. Any opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
Chairwoman Picard, since I wasn't part of the negotiations for the administrative contracts, I don't really feel comfortable making that recommendation.
I will ask for a motion. Mr. Palmieri, would you mind? Motion for the administrative contracts?
I make a motion to accept. Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the school committee, the North Providence School Committee considered and vote approve the administrative contract extensions as submitted.
Moved by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. All those in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the relocation moving bid as submitted. And Mr. McNamee, you might want to elaborate on that. Okay, let's do number 7. My apologies. Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the youth risk behavior survey as submitted. But I would like to say that if we are going to send out that survey, and I agree, there are some very sensitive questions there that I feel strongly that would require a parent permission for students to participate in that survey. So I'm going to, leave it to the committee to discuss, but I do believe those questions are sensitive, and I feel parents need some input here.
Make a motion.
Mr. Palmieri has made a motion for
Second.
discussion. Mr. De Silva has seconded it. Discussion on number 7.
I saw some of those questions on the survey, and I got to tell you, there's no way I want to have that discussion with my 11-year-old or 12-year-old daughter. So I'm going to tell you, I just think enough is enough, and at some point, you have to, the data is the data, but those questions are inappropriate. So there is no way I'm approving that survey. Excuse me.
Is there any other comments or questions regarding the survey?
Excuse me. If you'd like to say, show some of those questions, you can read them out loud and see if anybody here has any uncomfortable feelings about them.
I think we do have young children in the audience.
Then those are the people that are going to be, yeah, I know, but those are the people that we're going to be doing the survey. Well, that's going to be the next stage. I think our middle school is way too young for that survey.
Melinda, if you would mind reading one of the questions. So we've asked Ms. Smith to read a question that they would like us to send to our middle school students.
Just to clarify, some of these questions are going to put a lot of questions into the children's head that maybe don't have these thoughts. Maybe smoking pot or having sex or what kind of sex we're having. I just think it's inappropriate and it just doesn't belong.
I don't have the exact question in the middle school one, but they do ask specific questions around sex.
My recollection around one of the questions was, how often have you had sexual intercourse? Is one example of that question. So the question I think some of the committee members would have, and I'll let them speak for themselves, is if you're in grade 6 and you are 11 and you've never even thought, the question might be, should I be having sexual intercourse? And that's not the question I think some of us are comfortable with. We have had, we know the Lincoln School Committee has also denied the survey, so Mr. Palmieri is going to clarify his motion, please.
I make a motion to deny the survey.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Cataldi. The motion was made by Mr. Palmieri. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any more discussion?
Madam
ayes have-
Chairwoman,
Go ahead, Ronnie.
I agree with Mr. Palmieri. I went through the survey when it was sent to us, and there are very many serious questions, many sensitive questions that I feel that shouldn't be asked to the children of our school district. I believe that some of those questions, if they want to be discussed between a parent and their child, that's fine. But to ask them on this survey, I'm completely against it.
So everyone has voted aye. The motion has passed. So moved. Next item on the agenda.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the relocation moving bid as submitted. And now, Mr. McNamee.
Thank you. We had publicly advertised for the relocation of Stephen Oley and McGuire. This is going to be an extremely large move. We're talking about 5 trucks and 12 men per school for a 3-day period. So not only is it going to be large, it's going to be expensive. At this point, we have selected Astro Moving and Storage. They have done a tremendous amount of work within the state. They did East Greenwich, Pawtucket, North Kingstown, Westerly. They did projects down at URI. So these guys are very much equipped to handle the move and do it as efficiently and as cheaply as possible. The proposal is going to be the worst case. They're hoping they can do better than that, but they've toured the schools, they've looked at the amount of storage containers we need, they looked at the libraries, packing up books. They're going to be buying library cots so we can put the books on the cots. We'll shrink wrap them. Those books that we can move to the school, we'll move. The others, they'll store for us. So they've been through this drill before, and they have to do it probably within a 3-day period. One school closes on the 16th. We're going to start the move, I think, that Friday. They'll probably move over the weekend because by the 27th of June, we have to turn the schools over to Gilbane so that they can start the remediation before they do the demolition of the schools. So at this point, I'm recommending that we engage Astro Moving and Storage to for relocation of both Stephen Oley and McGuire.
Mr. Chairman? Mrs. Chairman? If I may?
Go ahead.
So, John, the cost associated with this is a budget or bond?
It's an operating budget expense, but if you recall last year, I had put $164,000 in the budget to cover rent and debt service on the project here at the high school. So I'm going to be intending to use those funds for the relocation. The debt service will be paid out of the capital fund, and the $100,000 we won't be using. because I thought we would be renting it starting on January 1st, so it's going to be April 1st for 622 in Osquantucket. So we have some money in that budget that we're going to set aside for this move.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll go to the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda,
We need a motion. Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the budget
Relocation expense bid.
relocation expense.
Motion by Mr. Palmieri, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
not have any resignations this evening, but we do have one retirement. Retirement of Susan Jeske. She's a teacher assistant at McGuire Elementary. Susan has been working for the district for many years, and she's a beloved teacher assistant, and we wish her well on her retirement.
May I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Iannetta and the entire committee with regret.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. De Silva and the entire committee. May I have the vote? Any opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item on the agenda.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the leave of absences as submitted.
Moved by Mr. Iannetta. Seconded by Mr. Cataldi. Any discussion? May I have a vote?
All those in favor?
All those, right? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is appointments, and I'll read them. Judith Daly, the 2017 Summer Learning Program teacher. Fernando Torres, the 2017 Summer Learning Program. Jody Graziano, 2017 Summer Learning Program. Marissa Bianco, the 2017 Summer Learning Program. And just to bring everyone up to date, that is the grant-funded program that we have from Hasbro. Crystal Bazigian, Social Studies Department Chair, and her effective date is March 1st, and it's a one-year only. Dana Gabardella, Portfolio Coordinator, its effective date March 1st for 1 year only. Erica Myers, Teacher Assistant at Greystone, starting on 3/13 for the remainder of this school year, and Teresa Carbone, Teacher Assistant at Birchwood, starting on March 8th for the remainder of this school year.
Motion by Mr. Iannetta, seconded by Mr. Cataldi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item on the agenda.
We do not have any rescissions or displacements. We're going to table the grievance number 2016-2017. And the next item on the agenda is the first read of the employee dress code that does not require a vote.
Is there any discussion for that item? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda.
Next item is the revision of the volunteer policy as submitted.
That will require a vote. May I have a motion?
Motion made.
Motion by Mrs. Silva, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
And the next is a first read on the registration procedure policy, and that will require no vote.
Any conversation or discussion, seeing that there's no vote? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda.
And the next item is the superintendent search process and procedures.
I would be more than happy to just give an update. So, as we all know, you saw the briefs today, our superintendent, Melinda Smith, has provided notice that she will not be extending her contract for the North Providence School Committee. We want to thank her for supporting our work, supporting the work of our district moving forward. We do believe we've made great gains as a district, as a whole, and that's due to Melinda's leadership, our principals, our teachers, our students, our parents, our community. So it is the school committee's responsibility now to move forward, because that's what we do. We wish her well in her next endeavor, and as we do that, we have already begun the process of beginning the interview phases and how we will go about the application process. So our school committee will be very busy for a few months to ensure that we keep the ball rolling and keep North Providence moving with the excitement that we have. We have building projects that are ready to be moving forward, and we're really excited about our next steps. And although Ms. Smith will not be with us during those projects' final, she's been instrumental in helping us get to this point. So we thank you, Melinda. Okay, next item on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is the school food service provider, and that's you, Mrs. Picard.
So I had a very nice conversation with Alicia Kent, who is the regional vice president. So she was very helpful and organized parent concerns into 4 buckets. She has promised that she will, recognizes that there's a concern around some examples of the concerns, just so we know, is they may be needed for more help at the schools, because sometimes some schools have 2 lunch ladies, they may need to be 3, so they can have 2 people serving instead of 3, moves the line along a little faster. She's recognized that maybe salaries are not what they should be, based on the fact that if we're having a hard time getting help, then we have to take a look at what do we need to do to get that help. So she's going to look at overall quality concerns around food. There are some concerns around parents saying that you know, the food isn't appetizing, they're throwing away certain items. So just to think about which items are these kids throwing away, so we can be sure maybe we don't offer those items. She's going to look into that. She's going to look over the overall staff engagement to make sure that our lunch workers are feeling, one, valued, right? Making sure that they know that this is an important part. We know our kids, they love our lunch staff, that there's the people, they greet them every single day. So it's important that everyone feel valued and that we help them make sure they can be as efficient as possible. And if there's not enough help, that makes their job a little more stressful. And sometimes it's going to be hard to get some staff. So she's going to work on a staff engagement. She's also going to look into overall the entrees. We've had some concerns where we're running out of food. So maybe it's nacho days, and if you're at third lunch and in elementary school, you're not getting any beef on your nachos because we ran out of beef. So there's an ordering issue. Maybe we need to pay more attention to, there was a concern possibly that kids were not getting the meals that they asked for because maybe they were switching up their choices, and I see Ms. Napolitano in the audience. She was grateful enough to share with me that she's put in a system where she has blue tokens and red tokens to ensure that that wasn't the case at her school. And even with that token system in place, there are still some concerns that by third lunch, we're running out of food. So we need to make sure that that doesn't happen. So there was one day I know Ms. Napolitano shared with me that everybody at third lunch was getting a bagel, let's say, because there wasn't enough food. And then the parents are saying, we're paying for the food. There are these choices. We would like them to have their choices. So I have to say, Ms. Kent was very, very receptive. She was told me she'd have a plan to the school committee by the end of next week to ensure that she was addressing any parent concerns. And she has the entire list, but just to give you an idea of some of the concerns. So I was very happy and pleased with our conversation, and I think that she's going to address everything that we've asked them to. Does anybody have any questions?
Did she acknowledge that what you said was?
Yes, she said they are acknowledged that there's definitely a concern. They realized that they have some work to do, and she thanked us for being very detailed about the kinds of concerns so she could be more thorough. Next item on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda is the use of property, and the only one thing that Ms. Falone didn't indicate on that sheet was that the Shealy Enterprise, the charge for the karate tournament, we will be charging the use of property and the custodial fees on that. Be it resolved that the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the use of property requests as submitted.
Motion made.
Motion by Mr. Inetta, seconded by Mr. Cataldi
I have
and
one.
Mr. Inetta.
I have a discussion.
Discussion from Mr. De Silva?
The North Providence East Little League needs to be 9-2.
9-2, okay.
That's a correction. Any other discussion?
Yes, we will be charging the karate studio.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it, so moved. Next item on the agenda?
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the list of bills as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by Mr. Inetta. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any discussion? Ayes have it, so moved. Mr. De Silva, minutes?
So if we could make a motion to approve and seal the executive session meeting minutes of January 18th, 2017 with appropriate section of Rhode Island State law.
Moved by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by Mr. Catali. All those in favor?
Moved
Yeah,
by Mr.
any
De
nays?
Silva. The open session meeting
Hold on.
minutes.
The ayes have it, so moved. Next
I'm
item.
sorry.
Go ahead. No,
Do
you're
you
good.
make a motion to approve the open session meeting minutes of January 18th, 2017?
So moved by Mr. Catali, seconded by Mr. Andriozzi. Yeah.
We going to vote them all, or just make one big happy motion?
One big happy motion.
All right, so continuing the executive session special meeting minutes, closed and sealed of January 30th, 2017, an appropriate section of Rhode Island State law, and also the open session special meeting minutes of January 30th, and the open session special meeting minutes of February 23rd, 2017. Make a motion to approve all of those.
Motion by Mr. De Silva, seconded by, who was that? Mr. Cataldi. All those in favor? Aye. Ayes. Any nays? Ayes have it, so moved. Next item on the agenda. Oh, don't say.
Let's make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. De Silva.